Hello everyone, Scott here with Saltwater Daydreams. Well, today I wanted to show you an idea that I came up with on feeding my fish while I was gone away on vacation. Over the Christmas holiday I took the family, or in the opposite side of the country, so I needed to come up with someone that could feed my fish, I could trust to do it, and to make sure that we weren't overfeeding or anything like that, because worst thing I'd want to deal with is having an ammonia issue or someone calling me telling me everything's dying off in the tank and not being able to check things and know what was going on. So this ice cube tray, I've done this in the past and it seemed perfect for this, and it really squelched my anxiety that I was having about this. And what I do is I create these ice cubes and it has the food portions in them, so someone comes over, all they have to do is take out an ice cube, place it in the aquarium, and they're all set. Another great thing about this is while it's in the tank and thawing, it's sort of distributing the food out so that way it's not all falling in the tank at one time. So therefore, as the fish sort of pick at it, they'll be getting a little bit at a time, and only a little bit sort of falls off extra that lands on the floor, but it really doesn't stay there very long. Now I'm going to show you how I go about this. Now with the Mysa shrimp here, it comes packaged in an ice cube that has a bunch of liquid inside that sort of surrounds it. So what I'm going to do is place it in a Dixie cup here. Then I'm going to take some RO water, which will help it thaw out just a little bit quicker. As you can see in here, there's just a couple cubes, so adding this water in here will help it thaw out a little bit quicker, and I can mix it around and help it out. But we'll let this set for a little bit while I work on the next portions. Okay, and next I've got here this Prime Reef. It's another product. I use this for feeding a lot of different things in the tank as far as smaller creatures. The cleaner wrasse likes to eat it, and it's good for my polyps and such. And it's got shrimp, clams, squid, krill, spinach, seaweed, fish oil, mussels, fish roe, vitamin supplements, and even some trace elements. Now the pieces in here are really small, so I can't really strain this and run it through my net like I normally do, so I just put it here in a Dixie cup. I'm going to add some RO water so that way it will help it thaw a little bit quicker. You can see the little pieces are coming off it here, and I'll just set it here and I'll work on the next piece. Okay, well next what I have here is called Formula 2, and this I use more for my tangs. My clowns will eat it too. It's almost like a paste here, and what I have to do is, while it's pretty much frozen, I'll have to chop it into real tiny pieces, and I'll be able to distribute it from there. But it's got a lot of different things in here which are good for tangs. It's got krill, spinach, plankton, shrimp, clams, kelp, peas, tuna eggs, fish meal, squid, vitamin supplements, and even some trace elements. So what I'm going to do here, just take it out. I'm going to let it thaw just a little bit, and then here in a minute I'm going to chop it up into smaller pieces. But while I wait for that, let's work on the cyclopes. Now the frozen cyclopes I like. These are really good for my cleaner wrasse. They're also very small, so they're good for my polyps and feeding things like that. But there's so many of them. This bar has lasted me quite a long time. It takes just a very small amount. So I'm just going to cut off a tiny little sliver here. Does not take much. These things are so tiny. I'm just going to put these in here to thaw also. And my cleaner wrasse definitely eats those up. He loves those things. Okay, well next I'm going to take the cup that had the Prime Reef in it and the cyclopes, which is the stuff that had the smaller particles. This is one that I can't rinse out with a net because the particles are so small they would go through it for the most part. So, but this is good for target feeding and stuff like that. I use it a lot on my polyps. My cleaner wrasse likes it, and I use it for the anemones and things like that. So now I'm just going to take the syringe and divide it amongst a tray. The only sort of little problem with this, I wish the stuff would, when it freezes, would freeze throughout the entire ice cube, but for the most part everything settles to the bottom. However, with me using a larger ice cube, it still takes probably 45 to 50 seconds for the ice cube to completely thaw out, but it gives the time for the fish to eat around the perimeter and try to pretty much keep up with the thawing of the cube. Okay, well next I'm going to go back to the Formula 2, and I'm going to take this and yeah, hopefully it doesn't thaw out too much, or it will be very creamy, and you won't be able to cut it because it would just be smearing like butter on toast. But what I'm going to do is just take this and slice it into slices. And I'm going to take it and cut it one way and then turn it and basically mince it into really tiny pieces. I want it to be small enough that when the piece comes off and melts off of the ice cube, that a fish will be able to take it in their mouth and swim off with it. If it's too big, then I sort of get them fighting over the same piece, and I'm trying to keep the fish a little separated so things don't get overly heated. Okay, now I'm just going to take these little cubes and divide them out amongst the ice cubes. And I am not responsible for you cutting yourself, so please be careful. Maybe this is only left for trained professionals. And there you go. Voila. Now I just got to do the Misa shrimp. And I'm just mixing up a little bit of water in here because it's still a little frozen, but I just pull some water and squirt it in there, and it's be thawed out. And you can see these guys are pretty good size. So these are good for the bigger fish in the tank. They pretty much grab them and they run off with them. And my anemones like eating them if nothing else. Now what I'm going to do is take some RO water, and I'm going to rinse these out. Normally I would do this in a sink, but for purposes for the video, I'm just going to bring a bowl over here so that way it's easier to show you. Alright, so I'm just going to dump these in a net with pretty small holes. You don't want to do it in too big of a, too porous of a net. And I'm going to rinse them off with some RO water. Put them right back in the cup. And I'm just going to use some more RO water to rinse them off the net because they're sort of all stuck to it. And now I'm just going to suck these up into my syringe, and I'm going to divide them out amongst the ice cube trays. And just finish up the last bit of dividing it out. Top off the water trays, and here you go. Now just stick these in the freezer and let them freeze. Okay, now just take an ice cube, drop it in, and everyone goes on a feeding frenzy. And basically, as things thaw and come off of it, they'll start eating it off there. Now, I can't guarantee they are not going to get an ice cream headache. Nice. Why do tangs always have to poop right where you're eating? As you can see, pretty much all the big pieces, especially, are eaten well before they ever get too far away. and there's a few little ones that drift off. But it's not too bad. This is a good way to help me anyway. Feel a little bit more comfortable leaving my tank alone and allowing someone who did not know how much to feed my fish control it. So anyway, just wanted to let you guys see that, see if you had any ideas. Maybe it's something you're doing the same. Everyone take care and happy reef keeping.